everybody and welcome back. So today is it's done. It's here. Oh my god, I'm not ready. I'm so scared. But I'm really excited. My heart won't stop beating. So it's actually been a couple hours since it was uploaded. It's 11:45 p.m. and I think it was uploaded at like 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. So I haven't seen many spoilers. Obviously, I made the stupid mistake of going on TikTok, so I was spoiled about one thing, at least slightly. I closed it very quickly, but anyway, I'm just gonna quickly jump into it because I don't have anything to say other than I'm very excited, so... I'm just so nervous. Alright, I haven't seen the thumbnail yet, but I have seen... I did check earlier that it was 51 minutes long, and I think now that's the longest video that we've gotten. So... Oh no! Oh! Oh! The thumbnail! Oh my gosh. You versus yourself? I like the little, like the little character things, like, I don't know what you'd call them, the little avatar, like, you know what I'm talking about. Things, but right next to Patton and Roman. And then I see... Does it say select a side? I can't see it. I'm on my laptop. I think it says select a side and it has Roman and Patton selected, and then there's the other four there. Oh, my heart's beating, man. I'm not ready. I'm so scared. Okay. I've been waiting so long for this, and I'm not ready, but let's do it, okay?
Thomas! Oh my gosh, you made it! We're so happy to see you!
How you doing, you beautiful man?
Oh my god!
I'm sorry for calling you beautiful. That was weird. My bad.
Oh
You could call me
Oh.
beautiful Mary Lee.
I always do beautiful.
We love each other. Hence the marriage.
Anyway, what's new, Thomas? Anything exciting going on in your life?
Hey, you okay, buddy? You look real sad in this photo I just took. No worry, no probably out. Now we have the couple for their first dance.
Oh, sorry, Thomas. Gotta go.
It was so great seeing you.
Oh, poor Thomas. That's a new sound. That's a new noise.
Whoa! Guess who just got a call back?
Is this
for
gonna be like the
Alfred
trailer?
Hitchcock Lucas movie?
It's kind of just a reminder
He
because
has
it's
a
been so
prior
long.
engagement that day.
Oh.
Nobody's perfect, except for Thomas. He loves his friends. I want to go to the callback.
I hereby sentence you to 1 day at the St. Clifford's Chapel on the day of Lee and Mary Lee's wedding.
What the f***, everybody? Now, kiddo, if you're gonna dish out F's, why don't we make them friendly hugs? F friends, Patton. Wait, you're talking about friendly hugging your friends? No! Thomas, you should never... I mean, I'm surprised that you would say something like that about your friends. I always thought that when it came to your pals, that sort of language would be ineffable. Oh, it's very effable. It's effable as F with a situation this up. You're not at all excited for them? With so much FU's thrown about, I doubt there's much he'd like to FU's about. Right, what do you mean am I not... Okay, you know what?
That's a good one.
Let's review. Let's do. Thank you. I hope we rhyme like this the whole way through. I hope so too. Yoo-hoo! So, let's start with the fact that the wedding was a total bust. It was? It was. It's just that going didn't pay off quite like we discussed. You mustn't think that going to a wedding to support your friends would have any sort of self-serving ends. I don't. But how about more than just hello? You know, something's iffy. Glad you're with me. That the state of things is icky. Is there something here we're missing? Maybe. No! I mean, you know that we've gone through all of this before. Before had helped you make the proper choice of wedding over your... Spare me the rest. Yes, but comic for a film that could have been my break. Yeah, you could say. And no one wanted you to go more than that slimy snake who pushed to do the egocentric thing auditioning. Yeah, that's deceit. A part of you so hard to chew it left me lost at sea. If our goals align with is what would I say? I felt forsaken. You were saying that we both have lost our way. But in your face I saw this pain, and so I made this choice. And now I have a restless head in my bed. I'll just feel this way. What way? The way a groom might feel if he just watched as his bride ran away. But you're again. I'm saying if I made the right choice, why don't I feel right? You may not tonight, but in time you might. I don't know. I think this feeling's here to stay. It is a pity to admit he could have done more than just sitting at that wedding feeling. Quit reviewing. Okay. Boy, how could such an upsetting conversation happen in such a fun way? Oh, why didn't they just talk to us more? Wait a minute. Why didn't I just talk to them before the wedding? I mean, I kind of brought that up before, but it got shut down faster than an Antarctic ice pop shop, so... Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. I could have just told them everything. If my one interaction with them was any indication, they obviously wouldn't have cared if I wasn't there at all. Maybe so. Wait, are you having second thoughts about choosing to go to the wedding, Roman? Oh, no. Of course not. I just wish we could have known how they felt. Maybe it could have, I don't know, made things a little easier for us. Well, you know, hindsight is 20/20, so... Okay, but if you're a sighted person with less than 20/20 vision, you don't just ignore whatever you see in front of you. I see. We should start looking into ways to predict the future! No. Very good. What I'm saying is I know Lee and Mary Lee. I can predict how they might act in specific situations. I know that they are very understanding people, and I should have used that knowledge. That would have been using foresight. But I didn't do that, so I made a decision with a blindfold on. But in Patton's defense, people are complicated, fickle things, aren't they? You think you know someone and then wham! Out of nowhere, they fill your apartment with feral cats, and now you're somehow responsible for the vet bills? You've got to give them away, but despite your cat allergy, you've endeared yourself to them, especially to Mrs. Snuffles. More like Mrs. Sniffles, because of the allergy. Your point being, foresight isn't really the most reliable tool that we have. Cool, so we don't use it at all? We did use it. You've known Lee and Mary Lee for most of your life, and they've always lent a helping hand when you needed it. That's true. When your car broke down an hour out of town, who was the only person willing to come out and give you a jump? Mary Lee. I don't know what good she thought jumping would do. What you needed was somebody to fix your car. And Lee always had my back in high school after I came out. Exactly. Now here, they met up with you face to face to tell you about their wedding engagement. Biggest day of their lives. And they asked you if you could be there. I wasn't even like a groomsman or anything. Well... It's not Lee's fault that he has so many brothers. Catholics. Yeah, Catholics. So is baby-making Catholics. We didn't have the first clue how I would make them feel. You thinking about giving their wedding a pass, all because of a callback that really might not work out. And not that you're not a talented guy. No, yeah. Dame Judi Dench, or as I like to call her, Queen Groovy Bench, didn't land her first big Hollywood movie role until she was 61. So maybe they understand. But maybe they still really want you to go to the wedding and feel too guilty to say so. Or maybe you end up going to the wedding and they feel guilty seeing you there because they feel like they took a big opportunity away from you. But they wouldn't have felt that way. But we didn't know that. Foresight means thinking about every possibility, talking to them about it.
Isn't that Virgil's job to think of every possibility?
And this was our chance to be there for them.
And be anxious about it.
Was not talking to them worth it, though? I don't know. Whatever happened to karma, you know? You do something good, good stuff happens to you. Right, yeah. Why is the saying, karma's a bitch? Why can't it be,
He's swearing a lot.
Karma is a very fair
And Patton's
person.
not saying anything about it.
Why does their complexion matter? Well, kiddo, unfortunately, life isn't always like your video games. Sometimes you can make all the good choices and still not get the good ending. I don't know if there even was a good ending to get. I'm pretty sure there was. He's a jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny, Roman, that actually does sound jolly good. I mean, sure, it does sound very jolly, and we can all agree that you are a good fellow. Can we all agree on that?
Oh, yes, we can all.
Okay. I understand now that I have been a little much the mayor of Muchkinland. Sure, when it comes to giving Thomas the third degree on his integrity. Right. And yeah, it is my job to keep you on Santa's nice list. But I haven't been making you feel very nice. I don't want to make you think you're some
Stupid, dirty, rotten, filthy, silly, Billy, no good for nothing, white, rat, scoundrel bitch.
Okay, thank you, Roman, for your help.
You're welcome.
I'm done asking, is Thomas a good person? I'm just here now to help you be as good as a good bud should. Okay, well, that's a relief, I think. So, yeah, you are a good fella, but not every good fella gets a big award. Only Joe Pesci. Well, what do we get? Sometimes, it's just this.
A bagel?
What? No, maybe. No, nothing. It's nothing.
Aw.
Sometimes you can't get
Maybe.
anything because a lot of the time, people need something more than you do. Like, let's say you pass by some sort of stop where you can buy games. A game store. You mean the internet? I'm not going outside. Oh, come on, Roman. Video games mean so much indoor time that they should cost a little outdoor time, don't you think? Anyway, you see a poster for the latest installment in the Frogger franchise.
You're such a dad.
But Frogger's not really a big thing anymore. And they're missing out. There is no video game character as cool as Frogger. Heck, he eats fly for breakfast. Okay. And trying to cross a busy road without losing his froggy life? Woo! Talk about riveting. Like, you're such a dad that it's too much to handle sometimes. Anyway, everyone's raving about the new Frogger. Best one yet. Amazing graphics. At least 16 graphics.
Do you even know what you're saying right now?
And, oh yay, it's on sale for about, I don't know, as much as a hot dog is worth. Patton, that's how much you get when you return a game. You have just enough money to buy it, but as you walk up to the door, you're stopped by a homeless, down-on-his-luck actor, and
Who is it?
Whoever you want. Oh, come on, Patton. How is Thomas supposed to feel empathy for this person if he has no one to visualize?
Alrighty, it's Leslie Odom Jr.
What? Why Leslie? I need backstory for this. What happened, Pat? I don't know. He spilled his drink on Stephen Sondheim at a party, and Sondheim said, "Gosh darn it, Leslie, you'll never work in this razzle-dazzle town again." He should just move to another town, right? Wow, this hypothetical version of Stephen Sondheim sounds like a real mother crupper. So, Mr. Odom Jr.
I love
tells
that
you that
sentence.
he's very hungry, and he points you to a nearby hot dog vendor. It's just a few yards away. By the liquid lipstick of William Shakespeare, a hot dog would cost Thomas his entire Frogger fund. It's all coming together. What do? Pretend you're talking on the phone so he leaves you alone? Tell him, I don't have any money, Leslie, and hightail it the heck out of here. Buy him a hot dog, or do you hightail it the heck out of there?
And I really, really want this Frogger game.
Yeah, you do. You woke up at 6 a.m. dull to go and get it. 6 a.m. dull? Do you mean sharp? No, that's really early for you. So you weren't quite able to get out of bed until like 6:08. Well, regardless, of course I buy him the hot dog. So you mustered up the will to give him a dinner that he could relish. Only, when he takes the hot dog, he walks away without thanking you. What do you do now? Do you say, "You're welcome," in a way that lets him know you think he was rude? Do you prompt him by saying, "What do you say?" Do you physically take the hot dog back? Or do you go about your day?
I mean, there's an obvious right answer here.
Please don't tell me you're going to wrestle Tony Award-winning actor Leslie Odom Jr. for a hot dog.
What? No. I'm gonna go about my day.
Even though he didn't say thank you, he doesn't have to. Just like you didn't have to get him a hot dog. I feel like you kind of do, though. Maybe. You don't need the new Frogger. Well, no one needs a new Frogger. Why do you think Thomas has to give the money, Patton? Well, because that money was going to a luxury item. In that situation, it's so easy. It's all right in front of you. A hungry person comes up to you and says, I need food. And the food I need is right there. You have the money. And it wasn't going to something you needed. You can disagree. But I feel like it might be kinda wrong to keep the money for yourself. Mamma mia! Jesus Christ, superstar, what is that?
It's just me, Logan. I've taken this form because I didn't want to be too invasive.
You very much did not succeed. What you doing, Logan?
Well, determining what feels right or wrong for you isn't really my area of expertise. Seeing how there's not much left at stake at this juncture, and that regret, unfortunately, is a process that can't be expedited, I decided that I need not expend too much energy on this matter. However, I felt that it would behoove all parties involved if I provided relevant information to serve as supporting evidence to any of the arguments that are made during today's discussion.
Neato! So you're making your little factoids optional this time around.
Facts. Factoid is a term coined by Norman Miller to describe false facts invented for magazines in order to manipulate their readers. And yes, I suppose they could be viewed as optional, your two options being informed or ignorant.
Oh, I've got this one, guys. I'm just kidding. Roman, you shouldn't push people's buttons. Enough joking around, Roman. Go on, Logan. Jesus Christ, superstar.
Thank you, Thomas.
Oh! Guess I won't be wrestling a hot dog away from Logan. Cause he thanked me. I'm sorry. Please go ahead, Logan. Oh, holy hero, we gotta read. It would be an estimated annual cost of $20 billion to eliminate homelessness in the United States, according to Mark Johnston, lost all that. Okay, Americans spend more than $20 billion on Christmas decorations and flowers every year, so it would seem that many Americans do have the currency to spare to end homelessness in the United States forever. Whew, okay, I'm not doing that again. I am sorry. That was too fast. Can you, one more time, Roman? Huh? Yeah, I guess everyone doing their small part for those in need could make a difference. Yeah, and even if I can't change things on my own, something as little as briefly helping a greatly troubled, prodigious actor would still give me more pleasure than playing Frogger. Well, yeah! I mean, it's Frogger we're talking about. Like, it's not like Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, as long as that's not the main reason you're doing it. What? Oh, well, you shouldn't do a good thing just because it makes you feel good. I think. You literally said the opposite to Deceit when we were back in the courtroom. Yeah, I did. But we all agreed that in that situation, the right thing to do was go to the wedding, which didn't feel good at all. So, I was wrong. Not to mention, Deceit said that you'd be doing the right thing for a selfish reason if you did it for your own emotional gain. And you agree? Definitely! Maybe? Great. I love that movie. I mean, I think so. What do you think? Oh, well, I think we all know I'm not exactly an expert in the moral medium. No, go ahead, Roman. I'd like to hear from you. Yeah. Okay.
Morality is
Don't
obviously
know how
very
much it matters
complex
why
subject.
you do something. What do you mean? Oh, it was nothing. It was stupid. Oh, no, please continue. Yeah, I'm sorry, Roman. Okay. So, like, say a very handsome prince. Who's the prince? I don't know. Leslie Odom Jr. Oh, wow! Guess old Sondheim couldn't keep him down. Yeah, that's right. From homeless and royally screwed to castle-dwelling royalty, too. Just your typical Tuesday. Anyway, Leslie offers up a reward. What's the reward? Leslie's famous cake. Phrasing. What? Leslie's literal cake that he baked. Oh my gosh. He offers it to whosoever is able to rescue his kingdom from the clutches of the skewed-bellied tyrant who is currently occupying said kingdom. Even if someone rescued the kingdom for the reward, I don't know. I just feel like it
Bowser
doesn't
character's
make
dressed as
much of a
Deceit.
difference so long as all of the denizens are liberated. Huh? That is something that I don't if it's right. You don't know if it's a good thing that everyone was saved? Wow, Patton, way to be a side with valid doubts about a complex moral issue. Of course, I think it's good that the kingdom is safe. That's great. The most important thing. But, yeah, you know, the people in this kingdom are suffering at the slimy hands of this reptilian rapscallion. I was just blanking on the word guy, but, you know, sure. People are being hurt by this reptilian with scallions, no, and this person doesn't care about them? They just want to earn some reward? That doesn't sound like a very good person to me. Yeah, probably not. Fair enough, but I wouldn't even argue for that much. Saving people for a reward is totally different from helping someone out just because it feels nice to help. Like, if the person in Roman's scenario saved the kingdom just because it made them feel good, then no one would argue that they aren't a good person. Well, I mean,
I have to go back later and
Am I
reread
not allowed
Logan's
to feel
stuff.
good if
That's
I do
very
something
fast.
good? Of course you are. That's just not why you do it. At least, I don't think so. But I mean, your morality, you're the guy who makes that call. So why do we do it? Well, you don't do it because it makes you feel good. You do it because it's the right thing to do. Okay. How do we know it's the right thing to do? You just know. Yeah, okay. That's not exactly the kind of answer I was hoping for, but, well, it's kind of just in all of us, you know? Why is killing and stealing illegal everywhere? Why do we all agree that that's not okay to do? I think it all comes back to empathy. Humans understand each other. We know what feels good and what causes pain. If a whole kingdom is in danger, well, everyone kind of knows that the right thing to do, if you can save a large group of innocent people, is save them. Well, okay. What about, let me ask you this. What if you can only save the large group of people by hurting another innocent person? That causes pain, but you said the right thing to do is to save the group? You can't hurt an innocent person.
Aww.
Constructive criticism, you know, maybe not depict scenarios where my friends die. Okay, I'm really not trying to argue with you, Patton, but you said everyone knows that it's right to save innocent people when you can. Is that not always true? Well, not when it's like that. It's never okay to hurt an innocent person. So that rule trumps the other rule. Roman! You know we don't like to use the T word in this house. Oh, sorry. So the rule about not hurting people overrules the rule about saving people. Yeah, that makes sense, right?
It's a synonym.
But what about the people that got hurt? That was a terrible tragedy that you couldn't do anything about. But you could have done something. You could have redirected the train. But that something wasn't an okay thing to do. Okay, so it's not about the end result then. It's about the how. Like how you do whatever you do. Right. The how. And the why. You don't let the train hit the group of people because you think they deserve to get hit more than the one person.
Oh my gosh.
Patton, my blinds!
I am so sorry.
Did you break my blinds?
I popped up too close there.
Oh. Thanks, Roman. You really cut the tension there. Okay. You okay? Oh, yeah, I'm great. You sure? Yeah, I'm good. Figment of your imagination, so okay. So, about the whole why
fair.
thing, what is a good why when it comes to why I should do good? I know you said earlier you do it because it's right. So, I guess what I'm asking is, what do I do it for? What's the outcome? What motivates me? I mean, I don't have all the answers, but I would say putting more good into the world. I wish that was a more satisfying answer, but it just isn't.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not doing a really great job explaining this philosophy. Logan, what would a real philosopher think about what I'm saying here?
Well, Friedrich Nietzsche really wouldn't have been thrilled with anything you've had to say, primarily because pity seems to be at the center of your idea of putting good into the world.
That's not what
Nietzsche famously rejected the notion that pity was a virtue. He once claimed that pity runs counter to the instincts that preserve and enhance the value of life. So Thomas is...
Well, you can't exactly learn how to care about others from a book, can you? It's okay, Patton. I mean, I don't really agree with the Mustache Meister either.
He does have a super duper unique mustache.
What he calls pity, I call empathy. And empathy is good. But I really don't understand what I need to change so that I can meet your standard of having the right motivation.
I think I understand. Your desires are getting in the way.
The problem is, in all honesty, that you want to spend your money on that new Frogger game more than you want, or even think to give your money to the homeless. And that you wanted to go to that callback more than you wanted to support your friends. The blame falls to me if you're missing that do-gooder drive. I think it's because I'm in the driver's seat. And I'm an awful driver. Perhaps I should let Patton take the wheel. Roman, I only mean well when I say that that is the stupidest thing you have ever said.
Oh, Thomas. You're just blowing smoke.
Really, Roman? It's the opposite. I need you on my team.
I don't know what that phrase means.
More than anyone. If we're talking about a drive or Thomas's will, then there's honestly no side more helpful than you.
I mean, I guess.
But I get why Roman's confused. Patton, I don't know what form the drive you're talking about would take. Everything I do is motivated by some sort of feeling. I eat because I feel hungry. I drink because I feel thirsty. I don't know what feeling would motivate me to go out and do good if not some sense of self-satisfaction. The only thing I'm feeling right now is guilt over the things that do motivate me. Which kind of makes me not want to do anything. Oh, gosh, I'm sorry about whatever I said to make you feel that way. Doing nothing is even worse.
What?
Never mind. I'm sorry.
Worse? Worse than what?
I don't know if I should say.
You might as well.
I'm kind of scared too. Look, Patton, I already feel bad, so I'd rather not feel bad and confused. Doing nothing is worse than doing a good thing for the wrong reasons. Like, we talked about how you have to, I think it's good to give your money to a good cause if you were planning to spend it on something you don't need. And I feel like the same principle kind of goes for spending time? Maybe? Time spent serving up knuckle sandwiches to bad guys in a video game could maybe be better spent serving up soup and sandwiches to the hungry in a local shelter.
I have a difference of opinion on this one, Patton.
Thank you, Logan.
I'm sure we're all familiar with the somewhat tired metaphor for self-care. You must put on your own oxygen mask before helping your fellow passenger. An analogy that warns against the practice of helping others with their personal issues when you yourself are in need of help.
I do need help.
It's ironic that that illustration's so overused at this point because it has almost become as easy to tune out that advice as it is to tune out the actual safety instructions on a flight. Easy and very dangerous. In the event that a plane cabin becomes depressurized, you do not have long to secure your oxygen mask before you risk your oxygen saturation levels dropping too much, leading to hypoxia, which is just insufficient oxygen for life functions. Hypoxia symptoms can include an inability to communicate, confusion, unconsciousness, and possible death.
3 out of 4 of those are normal for me. Do I have hypoxia right now?
Having heard a piece of information
Probably
before does
not.
not give you license to ignore it in the future, especially when the consequences of forgetting are so perilous.
Logan, I completely agree with you. But I really don't see how that relates to what we're talking about. Yeah, Logan, like you said earlier, this isn't really your area of expertise. Patton never said Thomas couldn't help himself, especially in a situation as dire as putting on his oxygen mask in a ground-bound plane. Of course I wouldn't say that. I've agreed in the past that Thomas should take the time to make sure he's doing okay and to temporarily put himself first if he needs to.
And just like all of the moral dilemmas we've been discussing, it can seem easy to confidently state what you would do in a difficult situation without legitimately knowing how you would behave when your instincts take over. In theory, you believe Thomas can and should take some time to care for himself, but every point you've made in today's discussion has contradicted that sentiment.
What? How? I don't think video games versus community service is a threat to Thomas taking care of himself.
Nearly every answer Patton has given to the moral questions throughout this discussion has suggested that a moral life is a life without spending surplus capital and time on leisure activities. Dr. Robert A. Stebbins defined leisure as activity engaged in during free time which people want to do and actually do in either a satisfying or a fulfilling way or both. Leisure means experiencing freedom. It's your time and you do what you want with it, which in turn contributes to a feeling of control and improved self-esteem. A lack of control and self-esteem are two factors that you all now understand can worsen Thomas's relationship with intrusive thoughts, and they have. Additionally, Doctors Iwasaki, Messina, and Hopper wrote that leisure time promotes a joyful life. And if that isn't enough, pleasurable activities stimulate the production of neurochemicals, which can then improve one's physical health. Leisure is something that Thomas needs more of in his life in order to feel like he has a life. And Patton is essentially suggesting that Thomas isn't being as good of a person as he'd like him to be if he doesn't sacrifice his life for others.
Whoa! That is not what I said.
Oh, is it not? Please correct me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
So if it was between Thomas's life or another's, you don't think Thomas should give his life up?
Whoa,
Oh, and this other person is an innocent little lamb.
Okay,
Or how about a group of innocents?
I don't actually, I would like to know, Patton, what should Thomas do in that kind of situation? I don't know.
Maybe. It's okay. Please calm down.
We do all think of people who lay down their lives for others as the greatest heroes, so I don't know.
You don't know? Earlier you suggested that all people naturally understand right and wrong. So, should Thomas die so that others may live?
Yes, I mean, maybe, or maybe not. What do I know? What do you think, Thomas, if it's your life or Leslie's?
By the slow wit of Heracles Patton, leave Leslie out of this one!
But how is Thomas supposed to feel empathy for this person if he has no one to visualize?
Is there no one else he can feel empathy for?
You're right, Roman. Thomas's life, or Lee and Mary Lee's. What do you say, Thomas? I don't know the right answer here. It's up to you.
Enough! This isn't working. This entire conversation has become so muddled due to a constant misleading misuse of conscientious language. You'll need a sharp side to cut through all this, Bo. Frog. A sort of subterfuge specialist. The Lord of the Lies. I'm happy to oblige. Whoop, whoop! Reptilian Rapscallion! Reptilian Rapscallion! We've got a code yellow!
Code yellow.
With Logan? Nothing at all, and I resent the question. Hold on! What are you talking
What'd
about?
he say?
Have you done with Logan? Nothing at all, and I resent the question. Hold on! What are you talking about, Deceit? Who's misleading who? Patton is misleading you.
Frogwash. I may be amphibian, but I can't say that I am fibbing.
That's richer than Jeff Bezos coming from the self-proclaimed Lord of the Lies. Do keep it up with the wordplay. It never gets old. He didn't mislead you on purpose, Thomas. I don't think the little guy, or the Big Frog is capable of that sort of thing. He may have just threatened the life of Broadway's original Aaron Burr himself, but you leave our rosy-cheeked riveter alone. Patton, I'm loving this new direction that you're going with your rhetoric, sprinkling in a few maybes, who knowses, or what do you think? Why are you doing that?
Because I found out that I was being too tough on Thomas and it was driving him hopping mad. So, I tried to share my thoughts in a softer way.
Right, because making Thomas feel inadequate for not dying in someone else's stead isn't tough at all. Here's the thing, Patton. Pushy is pushy. That faux flexible rhetoric that you're using to soften your approach doesn't change your intentions. It just disguises them.
That was just a hypothetical. Patton's not actually suggesting that Thomas should pursue martyrdom. Right, I don't want Thomas to croak. That's my job.
We're talking about what-ifs, worst-case scenario kind of stuff.
What I am saying is Thomas has a really good life that other people don't. You're over there talking about putting on your oxygen mask before helping another passenger, but we're not in a crashing plane. If the situation was that serious, then sure, he can focus entirely on himself. But does he deserve it? I don't know. Man, I don't know if I can believe whatever you tell me. Treating yourself is something that you can take too far.
You can take anything too far, Patton. You've taken things too far. The plane is going down. You need to give Thomas some room to breathe. I really don't know what I'm talking about. I can't not know. Patton, what are you saying? We can still beat him. We've beaten him before. Ow! Sorry, I have not looked in this direction the whole time. Don't give up now. No. He's right. I'm bringing this plane down. What? How? He's the actual snake on the plane. And I, for one, am tired of this morality-fighting snake on this metaphorical plane. You know, I'm actually glad you brought up the oxygen mask illustration again, Patton. Yeah, and that means you're not glad, right? Of course not. He's just trying to build up a false confidence in you so that you can plummet to even greater depths. That does sound like a very funny, wholesome prank, but no, I mean it. The idea is that you need not reach for your oxygen mask unless the plane is crashing. But when you apply that logic to real life, the analogy falls apart. A plane going down is an emergency. But self-care shouldn't be put off until you experience a mental health crisis. Mental health management is a little more like training to be a lifeguard. You have to spend time practicing and preparing and building up your strengths so that when you're inevitably faced with an emergency, you're better equipped to handle it. Wait, but you just used a job that's all about helping others as a metaphor for me putting myself first. Yeah, Joy! I realized that before you brought it up. Just as I'm sure you realize a metaphor someone makes up on the spot isn't going to be perfect. How about this? So, in some games, you have to use your turn to give yourself a power boost or to heal yourself. And even though that move only benefits you in that instant, it ultimately makes you a more helpful party member. Oh, not that any of you care, but I am unharmed, and I don't want to talk about it. I'm just here to deliver one last fact, then I will do you all a favor and spare you my company. Oh, Logan, Peter Singer is an Australian philosopher and activist who champions the movement known as effective altruism. The primary feature that differentiates effective altruism from other moral philosophies is its practicality. It employs the heart and the mind so that effective altruism can earn its namesake and actually be effective. The aim is to help as many people as possible while maintaining a perfectly adequate standard of living. So, a poor, sick person giving 5 of their last 15 cents to an aid organization, while incredibly altruistic, is not effective altruism because that money won't go very far, and the act would only harm that person's already unacceptable standard of living. Fellow effective altruist William McCaskill recommends that people who can, and are inclined to, should go into fields like like banking or finance, because more money earned means more money to give.
Right, like I said, I need to give myself a buff so that I can better help others.
And you need to maintain an adequate standard of living. You can't forget that part. If the variety of generosity that you subscribe to leaves you feeling depressed or like your life isn't your own, then you need to reevaluate things.
What do you know? If it came down to video games or volunteering at a local shelter, it actually might be okay to prioritize gaming sometimes, if video games are an essential ingredient in your recipe for self-care. Emphasis on the sometimes, though, right? We should still try to help those in need. Whatever, sure, if that's your thing. I mean, totally, yes, of course. But mental health should be regarded with the same life or death attitude as physical health. You've been taught to feel guilty for taking care of yourself. But you were also taught that Christopher Columbus was a pretty cool guy. A lot of your education was, of course, forgive the pun. So what, we're supposed to do a complete 360 and head right back into Selfish City? You mean a 180? Don't you talk to me about math. You're not Fogan anymore. That's Faux Logan. If you're too slogan, you're right. So why don't we move on to something we're both familiar with, Roman? Mistakes. I was actually very impressed with you. You made such a noble sacrifice. Don't try to flatter me, Snake. I don't need to flatter you now, Roman. I mean this. You, in particular, made a significant sacrifice when you sentenced Thomas to attend the wedding instead of the callback. That was a costly choice. Thomas lost a huge opportunity and a good amount of mental health points in the name of being there for his friends. He didn't get anything out of it other than a new high score in Word Crush. That's the closest to an act of true selflessness that I believe is possible. And look, it served no one. Lee and Mary Lee seem to have appreciated Thomas showing face as much as they would have appreciated any other guest's attendance. So if they gained nothing and we lost something, then it was a net loss. So maybe selflessness isn't always the answer. Okay, well, that's over and done with, so what now? You need to unlearn that selfish is a dirty word. And for your sake, you need to start practicing a little more selfishness. In moderation, as all things should be. Well, almost all things. What do you mean by almost all things? You're right. We wouldn't want to plant too many trees. Just think of all the CO2 that might be absorbed. Huh? You got me there. Well, when is it enough? Trees? No, selfishness! How long must we act selfishly until Thomas is ready to start putting more good into the world? A good question for another time. But I'm sure you'd have us believe that that time will never come. And even if it does, what's to stop you from telling us that we've done enough good for others, when maybe we could do more? Oh, Thomas dropped a dime in the St. Jude charity box. What a good boy you are, Thomas. Nay, I say! We are ethically compromised if we give the Bananaconda a seat at the table. I don't know that we are. We can't trust him. He's asking us to go back on things we've known for years. Rights and wrongs. Shoulds and shouldn'ts. How can we trust him? I don't have a simple answer to that question. But here's a start. My name... My name is Janice.
Oh my god.
Janice?
Stop,
What are you,
Roman!
middle school librarian? It's a stupid name.
Roman.
Oh, Roman, thank God you don't have a mustache. Otherwise, between you and Remus, I would know who the evil twin is. Are you guys seriously going to take his side? No, over me? Thomas. I thought I was your hero. You are. Wow. I can't believe this. Did you forget that he's evil? You're not. Or you're not supposed to be. You're supposed to be good. You can't. Roman. Everything's gonna be okay, kiddo. We love you. Right. Janice, do you think there's a limit on how many times someone can say sorry before you have to admit that they're just bad for you? Oh, definitely not. I'd love for someone to ruin Thomas's entire life one apology at a time. Okay. The reality is that it depends. On what? Where to start? How many things have they had to apologize for? How frequently do they have to apologize for things? How terrible were the things that they did? One of the biggest factors, in my very humble opinion, is whether or not they seem to be making an honest effort to do better, even if that effort is counterproductive. That does sound very annoying. Again, it depends. I guess I know who I need to apologize to. I'm so sorry, Leslie.
It's okay. Just hope today we all learned not to...
Thank you, Leslie. Yes, Leslie Odom Jr., everyone. Thank you. Yes, thank you. This is Sandra Sides, not Odom Sides. I'm not threatened at all. And Thomas, yes? I think I finally understand what my problem has been. Oh, yeah? Time. When you were younger, pointing you in the right direction was a little easier. Those examples I gave earlier, don't kill, don't steal, they're not really difficult conclusions to come to. Even those can get kind of complicated. I don't want to think about that. But maybe that proves my point. A more mature person comes with more mature moral questions. Like I told you before, sometimes I don't know the way. But when I told you that, you were so scared. I couldn't bear it. So I said to myself, all right, Patton, Thomas needs you. You're responsible for his morality. You can never not have an answer for him. And then I promised you I'd keep fighting. Unfortunately, I learned the hard way that giving too simple of answers to complicated questions can do more harm than good. So, I'm sorry. Again, it's okay, Patton. I know you'll do anything you can to make things right. Thanks for trusting me still, kiddo. I'm gonna go check on Roman. Before you go, I think I understand now what it means to see being here as a part of me. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah, that's cool. Talk about me like I'm not here. Yeah. And it's not that I'm an evil liar or even a fractionally...
Don't use his name.
...fibber. Everyone has a capacity for deceit, including me. And all that means is I'm not perfect. Just like anyone else. And those imperfections don't make you any less worthy of love. Janice, I'll take care of him. So, I suppose now we begin compiling a list of people we need to nudge down a flight of stairs until they hold another round of callbacks. Oh my gosh, no! Relax, I'm kidding. Of course I'm kidding. Baby steps. No! No baby steps! No steps! And no throwing people down them! No violence! You're right, of course. There are much less barbaric, much more fun forms of sabotage. Don't make me regret trusting you. I don't want to be stuck with an evil snake boy. You're not stuck with an evil snake boy. You're just stuck with a snake boy. But seriously, using a mobile game to hide from your sadness and regret at the wedding doesn't count as leisure time. Take some time for yourself, Thomas. You're right. I'm sorry, what was that? I couldn't hear you. You're right. Yes! It feels so good! So good! Oh. And I know how much you love these constant dilemmas, so please, keep overthinking everything. Yeah, I do need to work on that. While there is likely more that you can do to put good into the world, you shouldn't beat yourself up over what you can't do, or what you haven't done before. It doesn't help anyone, so don't overthink it. Just try. All you have to do is try your best to be helpful and to do your part, whatever that is, with the understanding that you can never get doing good down to a science. It's gonna look different for everyone. And don't be afraid to give to yourself either. If someone else ever did as much for you as you've probably done for yourself, you would owe them everything. Treat yourself the way you would treat someone who has endlessly labored to give you a better life, or who has always helped you to remain on your feet through the toughest, most emotionally challenging periods of your life. Try to find your balance between doing good for others and doing good for yourself, because finding a universally correct balance between the two is impossible. And sometimes painful. So just trust yourself. Until next time, take it easy, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Peace out. Hey, guys.
Sorry, bud.
I forgot, you don't like door yelling.
Nah, no worries. It wasn't so much the yelling as it was people at my door.
Oh my gosh, I love you.
Yeah, can you actually marry both of us now?
Yes, please. I really want to spend the last 2 pennies in my bank account on a second wedding.
I'm sorry, guys. I can't be tamed. And it looks like you're gonna have to terrify some other more docile bachelor.
Almost had him.
I know. You didn't tell me you guys were coming over. What's up?
Well, we just felt kind of bad because you made it all the way out to our wedding and we barely got to hang out with you.
Oh, what? I barely even noticed.
Really? Because you were sitting alone at the reception.
I was just trying to take it all in. You know, a lot of mental snapshots. I'm trying to go less digital this year.
But you're on your phone.
I was also taking literal snapshots with my phone. I mean, phones are barely digital at this point, right?
He's lying.
Well, regardless, we thought we'd try to win back your friendship by bribing you with some treats.
What? You guys didn't have to do that.
Mimosa and pastry.
Brunch Tuesdays.
Brunch Tuesday.
Little throwback.
Oh my goodness gracious, it looks like we're gonna make a the mosta this afternoon with some mimosas.
So this is like what you do for a living? Comedy?
Yeah, I'm a hack.
Well, are you busy? We could just leave these with you.
Oh, no, I was just playing Kingdom Hearts, a game that really centers around the concept of friendship. Would you care to join me?
Why would you even ask us that?
What about us showing up at your door with a bunch of brunch and some booze juice makes you think that we enjoy your company?
Cool, come in. We can also do something else if you don't want to play video games. Well, seems like things worked out after all. Guess I was wrong about everything. You and I both know that's not true. I think Odom Sides would be cool. Watch Odom Side, do what he can do.
What is up, everybody?
That's scary, but I feel like... Okay. Gosh.
Oh my goodness. My friend had texted me before I saw this. It was like his emotional roller coaster. Oh boy, was she right. Oh my goodness. So, like, as they mentioned, morality is obviously a very touchy and complicated subject. That's why, like, it's just obviously hard to find a balance in what's right or wrong sometimes. Like, it's hard. It's also really hard to find that balance of, doing things for other people and doing things for yourself. That's something I struggle with constantly. Because, like, I have a problem personally of, like, I want to help others and, like, I call it fixing their problems. I don't know, I really like to help people. Which is it looks kind of like that situation, almost. Where, like, you want to do things for people, but you can't always do that. And it's a hard thing to wrap your mind around sometimes when you are so used to helping people. Let me fix that. Rewatch it again, like I usually do. write down a lot, because there's a lot I missed, especially with Logan's little bits at the bottom. I'm gonna actually read all of those, and probably the one that hit Ben in the face, if it's important. Anyway, so, Janice. Alright. Cool. I like that they, took off his glove to, like, in a way to show that he was, like, taking an oath of, like, he's not lying kind of thing. I'm concerned for Roman, honestly. I don't know how to feel about that. Like, he has this idea of, like, good versus evil and stuff like that, but, like, deceit isn't evil, like, that we've been shown in this video. He's not evil, and his intentions aren't meant to be... His intentions aren't evil. He doesn't want to do bad, he just wants to do what's best for Thomas, like every other side does. His ways are obviously just different, and lying isn't always perceived as being a good thing to do. I just hope Roman's okay, and I would have to assume that because the next 2 episodes, it's gonna be another 2-parter for the 2nd season finale. So it's probably gonna be pretty Roman centered, because of what happened there, where he just sunk out and then, like, didn't say anything. Plus, we didn't see what Patton got to say to him, like, when he went to check on him, like he said he was going to do. Well, I'm gonna go do my rewatch, and I will be back. There's a lot to take in there. My goodness. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so I am back. I have, like, 2 pages of notes, but they're hopefully gonna go by quick. So, I just spent, like, the past 4 hours on the phone with my friend, actually going back through the episode. We paused a lot, so it obviously took a very long time. But I have a lot of good notes that I think will be helpful and good to bring up. So, let's get started. The first thing that I wrote down was about the towards the end of the episode, when Roman had asked Thomas, like, I thought I was your hero, and then Thomas says, you are, and Roman looks over to Janice, and I, like, think almost in a way he's looking for confirmation, like, almost saying, like, is he lying to me? Like, he's asking Janice if Thomas is lying. But I think the way that Janice looks at Roman, he's saying, like, it's true, like, Thomas is telling you the truth, like, you are our hero, like, we love you kind of thing. Like, that's the look that he's giving Roman, at least I think. It would also make sense, though, to say that he would be confirming that Thomas was lying, but then with the face that he gives after that, like, he looks sad, almost as if Roman took what he said the wrong way, which would also make sense because Roman doesn't believe him, but I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I think that would happen. Roman looked to Janice for confirmation that Thomas was lying about saying that Roman was his hero, and then Janice nodded his head saying, yeah, or at least in what Roman is interpreting, saying, yeah, he's lying to you. That's why he freaks out and leaves. But then I think, because Janice looks so, like, sad and upset that Roman took it the wrong way, I really think that Janice meant, like, it's true, you are a hero. Another thing that was kind of, like, reoccurring a little bit in the episode, obviously before everything happened in the end, was, like, Patton beat, like, Logan in the previous episode of the Intrusive Thoughts episode had told Patton that he was being too strict. So obviously, like, Patton had told us in this episode, he was like, I tried to soften my my inputs. Like, I tried to soften that so that it didn't seem as strict and I wasn't being as pushy. And stuff like that. So, like, whenever he went to say, like, never or no or you can't do this kind of thing, he would stop himself and like change it. Like, I don't know, what do you think? But like Janice said, in the like frog fight scene is what I'm gonna call it. In that fight scene, pushy is pushy. Like, it's still, you're still putting pressure on Thomas because you're not giving him a full answer. Almost in the way of when Thomas had told Virgil in that one episode, like, I hate it when you're just vague. It's kind of still being vague. You're like, I don't know, what do you think? Like, sure, I'm your morality, and like, I could give you advice, but like, I'm not always right. So like, what do you think? Like, what do you think is right? Do what you want to do, kind of thing. But like, that doesn't necessarily help Thomas at all, because you're not really giving him advice. You're just kind of saying like, I don't know, like, deal with it yourself in a way. It's not really being beneficial. You're just kind of pushing aside the job of doing anything at all, in a way. And then obviously the thing that we had all been a little bit frustrated about from the first video, like, why didn't Thomas just talk to them? Like, literally just bring it up to your friends, just talk to them and maybe they'll understand. And obviously in this episode, Thomas brought it up, like, I could have just talked to them, like, I know my friends, they would have understood. And then Patton said, well, we don't know that they would have understood, maybe that would have put more pressure on them and made the situation worse, and everything spiraled out of control. And then also, about the point of just talking to his friends, he says he should have used the knowledge of knowing his friends, like, that they would have understood, using that knowledge. I feel like that relates kind of to Logan, because like, in a way, obviously Logan would have probably brought up like, hey, talk to them, like, talk to your friends. That obviously would have been a logical decision, but he was pushed to the back of the courtroom, so he couldn't really say much. So I think that probably has something to do with why it wasn't brought up in the first episode of SBS. Just because, like, Logan wasn't as much of a part of the conversation. And then at the end of the episode, of the first part, like, there wasn't much left to say because the decision had already been made, so maybe he didn't want to start any more conflict when the dilemma has supposedly already been resolved, at least as much as it could have been. So just, I feel like if Logan had been more of a part of the courtroom scenario, I feel like he would have brought up the fact that you can talk to your friends and they'd probably understand. Throughout the entire episode, there's this idea that they keep using different analogies and scenarios to try to understand things, and like, that's kind of reminds me of what Logan had brought up in the Are There Healthy Distractions Asides episode. He had talked about that you've been mentally putting yourself in the place of different scenarios that occur somewhere else when you're dealing with something else. But putting yourself in those situations can be harmful, and like, you're not even there, so you're safe. You're here and you're safe in the present time in your apartment. You're not there dealing with that situation. And then Janice had brought that up later and said, like, you're not dealing with that right now. Like, just because you try to say that you'll do one thing in a scenario, you don't actually know if that's what you do if you actually had to face a scenario. You're just thinking of like what you'd want to do in that scenario, not necessarily what you would do. You can think of the best case scenario that you would want to happen, but you don't know that that's gonna happen. So trying to mentally figure out those situations and problems isn't gonna be beneficial because you don't know that that's what's gonna happen. And that's another thing I wanted to point out. In this video, they did a very good job of encapsulating how complex morality can be, because like, obviously there's ups and downs, and like there's ups and downs with right and wrongs, because like, not every scenario has an easy answer, obviously, as we saw with all of those complex analogies. Just like, it won't always be easy to do the right thing, kind of, I guess. But like, it's very complex, and I really like how well they showed that it's a very complex thing to talk about and to understand. And I just really like how they showed that, and that was very nice. Another thing that's really complicated, obviously, is in SBS Part 1, Patton says that the reason they should go to the wedding is because it would feel better to give to someone else than to take something for yourself. And Janice points out that Thomas won't enjoy giving the bride and groom his time because it costs something very important to him. And that obviously Patton was contradicting his own statement because that would make Thomas not want to be as selfless in the future if he didn't enjoy this experience. And obviously that's like probably most of the dilemma here is like, why am I being so selfless? Like, what's the right thing to do? What motivates me is like his question in the beginning. And then around the benchmark of 16 minutes and 4 seconds, Patton points out that he agrees with Deceit, saying that he agrees with Janice, saying that it is very selfish to do something for your own emotional gain. He says, like, I definitely agree with that, but then obviously he also says, maybe, I don't know, what do you think, kind of thing. Like, he gets, like, self-conscious about it, almost. So, like, those are two conflicting statements, saying, like, we should go to the wedding because it'll feel good to give to them, but it's selfish to do something just because it makes us feel better. So, obviously, those are the two complicated scenarios of morality. And then another thing I wanted to point out, around 23 minutes and 12 seconds, or like a little bit after that, we actually see, obviously there's a little skip button that pops up next to Logan's thing, like the little speech box thing that he has at the bottom. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but you know what I'm talking about. We see, obviously, after Patton pressed the skipped button, we see a little, like, cane kind of thing, like, come across screen and, like, grab Logan out of the box. And, in the scene where it kind of looks like a Mario game, we can see that, obviously, the Bowser character looks like Deceit, and he's throwing, like, little hook kind of things at Thomas. And then in the, like, frog battle scene, he also uses a little hook kind of thing to pull Thomas behind himself. So I think that little hook is, like, his weapon of sorts, but also, like, you know, those little, like, snake hooks that some people use to, like, move their snakes, like, if they, like, try to, like, go and bite. I think it's kind of like one of those, like, a little, like, herding, I don't know what they're called, like, a little, you know, like, the little, I don't know, a hook to hold a snake in, because that's what I think of anyway, and I find that very funny. Also, with that scene at after the skip button and pulling Logan out of the box, after that's obviously Janice pulling Logan out of there, in a way, I'm probably almost saying, like, hey, you're not being helpful, like, let me fix it. After that, obviously, and the next time that Logan pops up, that's Janice. So that was something I wanted to figure out, and I did in my rewatch. When was it Janice? Like, I was kind of curious, was it, like, Janice the whole time? Because, like, obviously, it's hard to tell when Deceit is disguising himself as people. Another thing that I noticed was, like, kind of how, like, Patton's holding back from using words like never, you can't, and, like, no, kind of, like, very strict, like, no words. I saw that Roman was, like, holding back from saying words like stupid or, like, name-calling kind of words and like that. He was trying to be more playful and silly with how he was calling people names, I guess. Like, he's trying to not be as mean, and maybe that's something that he started associating with Remus, and obviously Remus is everything that he doesn't want to be, so, like, he's trying not to be as mean, especially in the end of Dealing with Intrusive Thoughts. He says, like, shut up, nerdy Wolverine, exactly the same line that Remus had said earlier to Logan. So he obviously apologized immediately, and then maybe he realized that, like, that's, like, a really mean thing to do, to, like, call people names and stuff like that. So I feel like that's probably why he's, like, trying to hold himself back and, like, stop calling people mean names. So the trolley problem, obviously that is a very complex thing, just, like, morally wise, and like Logan had said in his little pop-up at the bottom if you pause to read it, like, it's just very complex, obviously, and the nuances of you can take the action to do something, but then it's your action to harm that other human being. Whereas if you choose not to act, sure, more people are getting harmed, but you're not physically doing the action of you're not physically taking the action to harm them. And sure, you could mentally say, like, well, I technically could have done something. Like Roman had said, like, but you could have done something. Like, you had an option. There was something you could have done. Yeah, you could have saved the many and, like, harmed one instead of more. But still, it's your action to harm that one person, or just don't do anything, but more people get hurt. So, like, that's obviously a very hard situation to be put in, to have to think, like, should I take my action to move that lever to harm that one person to save possibly my friends, or like, do I just not do anything because then the blood is technically on my hands? That's a very hard situation to be put in, and obviously, like I said earlier, you would never know how you'd react in a situation like that unless you were actually there. Like, you can make up all these scenarios and say, like, well, it's better to do this or better to do that, like, this is what I would want to do, stuff like that. But you would never know exactly what you would do unless you were actually in that situation at that time. After, or in the end of the, frog fight, is what I'm gonna keep calling it, Janice is able to kind of set Patton straight and, like make him understand that, still, even though he changed in a way to, try to not be as strict, that it's still harmful and it's not working. It might even be putting more pressure on Thomas because you're saying, like, hey, deal with it. Not deal with it, but, like, hey, I don't know what the right thing to do is here, so what do you think? What do you want to do? It's not my life, like, do what you want, kind of thing. So, like, it might even be putting more pressure on Thomas to, like, make his own decisions because yours morality, you should be giving him that advice. Janice is able to really show Patton that, like, that's still not right and that's still not helping, and Patton appreciates that. He appreciates being told that he's not doing his job right, and he understands that, and he's, like, upset by that, obviously, but he's thankful that he's able to now understand what he was doing wrong and that he can fix it. And then after that, obviously, Roman isn't able to take the same viewpoint. He still believes that Janice is evil, and, like, especially after Janice gives us his name, like, he laughs in his face and, like, says it's a stupid name. He literally says it to his face. Roman has such a hard time understanding and, like, trying to accept the fact that Janice isn't evil and that he doesn't have evil intents, like, to hurt Thomas or to harm the way that he likes to help others. Like, he just can't understand, even when Janice, like, obviously, like, takes off his glove and, like, shows, like, hey, I'm, like, kind of, like, doing, like, an oath almost, like, to show you, like, I'm not lying here, like, this is my name, kind of thing. And then when he, like, looks at them like those couple times seriously and is like, no, I'm being serious, like, I'm not lying, he has such a hard time believing that. In a way, it might be, like, his view of good and evil based on, because I believe in the theory that, obviously, based on morality, so Patton, creativity would split into those two parts because of Thomas's view of right and wrong, good and evil, kind of thing. So, like, obviously, it must have kind of been Patton's fault, that creativity split, and therefore it must have given those two the views of good and evil because, of, like, what they represent, too. So, like, in a way, I guess Roman has those fixated views of good and evil, and maybe it's just harder for him to let go of that because he doesn't have, obviously, his role isn't morality, so he doesn't have the capability of maybe letting go of that belief in good versus evil kind of thing. Plus, he's a prince and he likes fantasies, so maybe, like, you know, the villain's always the villain kind of thing. But then you could ask, like, why has he accepted why has he accepted Virgil, because obviously Virgil is very well accepted and used to be thought of as a villain and dark side and stuff like that. Maybe that's like a question that we can visit in the comments. Another one would be, why wasn't Virgil even in the episode at all? Because in previous episodes, whenever Janice would have showed up, he like freaked out. So, like obviously in SBS, like when Janice revealed himself to not be Logan, Virgil sort of like, hi, hello, what do you want? Like, why are you here, kind of thing. And then in the Sanders Asides episode, he hissed at Janice. So I don't know. Other than just that maybe he wasn't needed for this narrative, like I don't know exactly how helpful anxiety would have been in this scenario, even though obviously it was very much present. Just the feeling of anxiety and stress was present, but I don't know exactly how much the embodiment of that would have been helpful in the argument and the dilemma, so I guess that could be an explanation, but if you have any other ideas, let me know. So I think that's all the things I could think of when I went back through and watched. Let me know if there's any other points that you have questions on that you'd like me to look into and kind of answer based on my opinions of the episode. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, or if you have any theories you'd like to share or talk about. Just obviously please feel free to theorize all you want. I absolutely love theories to death, so please share them all. Also on Tumblr, I'm trying to be more active and reblog some of the theories that I see, and I also usually post some of my theories that I think of after I posted my React and Theories video. So if you want to see any more of my theories, you can look at my Tumblr if you want. So yeah, I guess we'll just wait for the next one. Whenever that is, because obviously this episode took a very long time, but that is completely okay for very good reason. There was a lot of things that he took a long time to get done for this episode, like all the animations and the little music bits that were in there. Just obviously there was a lot that went into this episode, and I am so grateful for everyone who contributed to this episode, to like whoever animated that, all of the artwork and everything, just everything that was included and that needed to be done to make this video possible. Just thank you to everyone involved, and you are all talented human beings, and I love you all so very much. So there's that. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing what you all thought. So I will see you guys next time. Bye!